My friends, I've played Donkey Kong Bonanza early, before anybody else, and I have some strong thoughts. Big thanks to Nintendo for inviting me to preview the game, but that does not change my thoughts one bit. I'll be giving it to you straight. I played through all different parts, found surprises, and there's one part of the game that actually worries me. Let's get into it. Also, there are no spoilers in this video as long as you've seen the direct on this game until the very end, but I'll tell you before we get there. Right out of the gate, after the first cutscene, I was playing through the introductory area of the game. I chose normal mode, and getting down the controls was a lot of fun, but there is something I'm a little bit worried about here. Moves that you've probably seen in trailers like the turf surf or the hand slap are nice and useful, and the game walks you through how to do all of that, but constantly in my session, I had to be reminded of how to do certain moves. Because there's a lot of them. Punch, dive punch, roll forward, hand slap, punch up, punch down, tear stone out of the ground, swing those stones, turf surf, chunk jump, morph into a Bananza mode. However, once you get those down and you're breaking through everything, I found the hand slap feature to be very useful. There's gonna be a lot of times where there's a lot of gold on the ground and you have to pick it up. By pressing the R button, you can hand slap and pick all of it up in an instant. You'd spend a long time collecting gold without it, so it all felt nice and punching felt really good. I could break whatever I want whenever I want. And then after getting out of the introductory mine area, the first thing that stood out was not only how beautiful this world looked, but the music too. I love music, okay? I was now being thrust into the game, and the first thing that they had me learn was the skill tree. Collecting 5 of the game's treasures, the Bananza gems, gets you 1 skill point for the skill tree, and I chose to get a brand new move for Donkey Kong with it, the jump shot move. Yes, there's even more controls to learn. And as you keep getting Bananza gems, you keep getting skill points and keep unlocking more moves and other features for Donkey Kong. And you can also get upgrades for the Bananza modes, the Kong Bananza, the Zebra Bananza, and the Ostrich Bananza. We'll talk more about those modes later, but as you saw in the Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct, the Ostrich Bananza can drop bombs. Well, you actually have to unlock that via the skill tree. As far as the world goes and other things that you'll want to know, I like it a lot because every layer of the game, each different part, feels very distinct. Minecarts are back, there's new NPCs for each area, some that you can high-five. I couldn't stop high-fiving these freaking birds. The people watching me play this were probably annoyed with me. You might also like to know there is an auto-saving feature. The game runs at a very smooth 60 frames per second. However, there are the occasional frame dips, but I will say nothing that'll ruin your experience. Trust me, I even tried to break a lot of things, as you can see, just so I can see if the frames would drop, and they didn't. There were a ton of different enemies in the game, some of which we don't have the names for yet, but just each layer had their own uniqueness. It was nuts. There's this one dude that comes out with drills on his face trying to eat you. We got Buzzoids, we got these dudes. There's trouble in the area. In more of the jungly area, we could take these seeds and throw them at wood and make a path for ourselves. And one thing I was worried about that also was confirmed to me was you don't just get to punch everything in this game. I was kind of worried it'd be a little bit too easy doing that. There's a lot of puzzles and things that you have to do. For example, to break concrete or defeat the crocoid enemies, you will need boom rocks. You can't punch them. Don't worry, I tried. You'll find a ton of Bananza gems scattered around the world and some that you'll need to solve a puzzle to get. I was confused by this one right here. It was underwater, and I asked the Nintendo rep who was guiding me through the game, "Can I swim downwards?" And then he said, "Nope, it's a puzzle," and I eventually figured it out. I also got to test out the teleport feature where you can teleport within a certain layer, and what's really cool about that is sometimes when you teleport in games there's a 29-second loading screen, or that's what it feels like. Teleporting is pretty much instant, so that's a plus. Also on loading times, I calculated the average between every loading screen that I played, and the average loading screen time is about 8 seconds, so I would say that's pretty standard for a Switch 2 optimized game. And then potentially my favorite part of the game, the challenge course ruins, believe it or not. These are pretty much side challenges in the game. You can compare them, not exactly, but similar to the Legend of Zelda shrines. You jump in one of these ruins and you'll be greeted with a challenge challenge, whether it be beat up all these enemies in 30 seconds, or solve this puzzle to get Banandium gems, or destroy a whole building in 30 seconds. We aced that one. And within the first half hour of playing, I was thrown into one where I had to beat up some enemies. I failed miserably twice in a row. No, actually 3 times in a row. It was tough for me, but I think that's because I was brand new learning all the controls. These are really fun, and what I'm really happy to report with this section of the game is they don't treat you like you're a 4-year-old. The puzzles I've seen in some games are very easy. They'll tell you where to go and what to do, or it's just obvious enough where you can figure it out on your own. But a few of them in Bananza actually stumped me. Look at me, I fell off a cliff. And my favorite type of challenge course ruin is the 2D Donkey Kong levels. You're essentially reliving the older Donkey Kong games for a little bit. It's classic 2D action, although it is improved. You couldn't always swing rocks in previous Donkey Kong games, but the good news is barrel puzzles are very much so present. But challenge course ruins are a great way to earn Banandium gems and keep on leveling up your skill tree. Now let's talk about the good old Bananza modes. Using the Kong Bananza is awesome. You're pretty much the final smash version of Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong on steroids, if you want to put it that way. You can break through walls. I didn't get to play as the zebra Bananza, but for the ostrich Bananza, this one's fun. The Nintendo reps had me get to a high place, then transform into the ostrich Bananza and fly all around. Because of the skill tree, I was able to unlock the bomb move for the ostrich, and I'm flying around dropping bombs. It does kind of suck because when you're flying around, you do steadily just drop down and drop down and drop down until you're at the ground. I would like to fly around for a longer time and just keep dropping bombs, but I understand there is a limit. Both of those, and I'm sure the zebra one, are all gonna be very fun. But next, let's talk about these shops in the game, because this is where things get fun. Let's start with the fashion shops, and these are awesome because throughout the game, you're able to collect not only Banandium gems, but fossils, and fossils are gonna be used to get you fashion items. And apart from just picking whatever looks cool to put on Donkey Kong and Pauline, these outfits, of course, as you might have seen, give you upgrades. For example, extending your Ostrich Bananza time by 40%. You'll be able to be the Ostrich Bananza for a lot longer. Poison damage resistance is also a good one. I was able to dress up Donkey Kong and Pauline. I gave Donkey Kong a sweet looking bow tie. This game's cool, man. There's item shops where you can buy balloons, which will save you if you fall off a cliff. You can buy juices that restore health, or there's even maps you can buy that show you where a nearby Banandium gem is, where a nearby fossil is, things of that nature. And you'll be buying all of that with gold. By the way, you actually lose gold if you die. Don't ask how I know. I know it a little bit too well. So make sure you have a lot of freaking gold, okay? Or else you're screwed. And finally, there are getaways where you can build a little place to take a nap inside a layer. And what's really cool, 2 things. After you take a nap, you get 1 temporary heart. You can get more temporary hearts if you keep building these getaway beds in the same layer. If you build 2 getaway beds, you'll be at comfy level 2 and you'll get 2 extra hearts. So that's very cool. But also, Pauline talks the entire time Donkey Kong is sleeping. You pretty much get to know Pauline a little more. She's always got some fun phrases in between the nap, and then you both wake up and get back to your journey. She has a ton of voice acting in this game. Even just walking around, punching some stuff, she's like, yeah! And something that I kept thinking while playing this game was, man, I'm gonna spend a lot of hours playing this. Because at the event, I was encouraged to just keep on exploring and doing whatever the heck I wanted. So I would just punch and dig all around, and I'd find these secret fossils or Banandium gems, and like, it just shows you there's so much hidden in the game. People who wanna 100% this game, I feel terrible for you. Something else that we got to try at the event was the 2-player mode. Now, of course, in 2-player, 1 player is Donkey Kong, the other is Pauline, and player 2 can basically use the mouse feature of the Switch 2 and just shoot whatever you want, whenever you want. I played as Pauline for a bit, and I'm glad to report it's a pretty robust-ish 2-player mode. What I mean by that is sometimes a 2-player mode will be like, oh, touch the screen and you can do something small. Of course, with Pauline, it's kind of like that. You just move the mouse around and shoot with your words. But it's nice in the sense that if Donkey Kong is approaching an enemy, you can shoot ahead of time and take the enemy out so player 1 doesn't have to worry. And then also, as seen in trailers, you're able to copy certain materials as player 2. So if I copy one of the NPCs, which is very cool, I can now shoot out words with their materials. And it's called Fractonium. That's what I plan to name my firstborn. The only other thing about two-player mode, which is not necessarily a complaint, however, maybe it is depending on who you are, it is a touch broken. And here's where we get to our next topic, which kind of worries me about the game. And heads up, this is a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to see it, skip right here. We were able to play a boss battle of the game. Now, it definitely was not the final boss, I can tell you that, but Nintendo wanted to see how we'd react to it, so me and a buddy hopped in. We were done in 40 seconds. And it's important to note, we were thrown into this boss battle with zero context, so I don't know if this was the first hour of the game, the first 10 minutes, I don't think it was that. But the boss was unbelievably easy. I mean, we were told that we were one of the fastest groups to beat the boss. 40 seconds. Heating up a Hot Pocket took longer than the boss fight. Once again, I'm sure it was an early game boss, so it wasn't meant to be challenging, but this is a villain shown off in all the trailers. There might be multiple fights with Grumpy Kong. The length and the difficulty certainly upset me a little bit, but I can't harp on it too hard because I've not played the full game yet. Once we play the full game with context, it could make more sense. Also worth mentioning, that was two-player mode, so maybe one-player mode you'll have it be a bit more challenging, or maybe two-player mode is just truly broken. The only main things that we didn't get to try are the Zebra Bananza, DK Artist mode, and of course the Donkey Kong Amiibo, but the Amiibo one isn't very big, it just gets you a dress. I'm curious about the DK Artist mode, that should be a lot of fun. But apart from that, I'm giving you my honest thoughts. The game is feeling very good, and maybe I just got to play the best parts of it, maybe it'll be trash. But most things exceeded my expectations. There's a lot more freedom, you can punch, you can go in all these different places, there's a lot of different enemies, it's great 3D platforming. But we'll see what happens, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, click right here to see another Switch 2 video from me, click here to subscribe, and click here to subscribe to my Nintendo podcast. I'll see you all soon. Adios.